All right, we're live. Tom kicking us off
What's up?
today. What's going on,
What's
man?
up?
You know, pretty exhausted. It was a really productive Monday, but it's just one of those days when it's like locked in for 5, 6 hours straight, and you get out of that flow zone, and all of a sudden it feels like your brain's zapped. That's sort of where I'm at right now. But it's a good problem to have. It means I was getting shit done.
Yeah. Yeah. And that man achieving that flow state is just operating in my prime is what I call that. It's just such a good thing. So
I
well, hopefully a conversation, a little reflection, a reflective conversation will help fill your bucket up a
yeah,
little as
yeah.
we close our day.
I actually was reading a LinkedIn post yesterday from Dave Gerhardt, and I can't remember what exactly the post said, but he was just talking about his experience going from the corporate world to being a solopreneur and now running his own podcast and media company, and how his day is just filled with focus time now versus being stuck in meetings and how energizing it is. And I 100% agree with him. While I feel very fatigued right now, very energized by the work. So just want to
What
make
do you
sure that
think?
I made that clear.
I love that. What do you think the odds are that we could get Dave to join our podcast? We've talked about him
Yeah.
probably at this point now more than any other podcaster. Maybe Brene Brown would be up there.
Honestly, I feel like we have a good shot, you
I
know,
think it would be nice
worth
to
a
have him
DM.
on. Yeah, it's definitely worth a DM, and it would definitely give us a little change of pace.
Yeah,
But
very it would be a very different guest. I mean, he's not an HR leader, but he was the CMO of Drift, and he has experience leading teams, so it would be interesting to hear his perspective.
and he knows how to build, unique communities also,
He
which
does. That's true.
is something that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
So good news stories. What do you have for today, this Monday evening?
Well, let's see. So I'm in Dallas, and for everybody listening, I live in Austin. So I don't live in Dallas, but this week I'm here for my wife's work. But the good news is both of my brothers live here. So I'm gonna have a chance to go hang out with both of them at some point this week. I'll get to see my little nephew, maybe get a couple of dinners with the brothers. And then we have a couple of friends that live out here that we're gonna get together with. So it'll be a week filled with connecting with both loved ones and friends, and those are always good weeks. So even though I'm not in my office and in my usual environment, which honestly, like, not gonna lie, kind of throws me off a little bit because I just feel a little bit out of my element. It's nice to be able to catch up with those people.
Well, shout out to Nick and Mateo. I'm jealous that you guys get to hang out in my hometown, Big D. My good news. So, as most of our listeners know, I have two daughters. One is Astrid is 12. She's about to turn 13. Cora is now 11. She was 10 and just turned 11. So now I officially have two preteen girls in the household. And it was Cora's birthday weekend. And she was very clear this year what she wanted. She wanted to do something a little different. So she didn't want to have, usually we would coordinate like a second party with friends and or we would have like a family get together. And she's like, you know what? Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that. And we're like, cool, cool. Like, what do you want to do? She decided she wanted to be out in the nature. And so we went out like 45 minutes outside of Austin. We had a cool little glamping situation, a place called Green Acres. And it was awesome. We woke up
Um,
Saturday morning and there was fog everywhere. And it just was like the coolest effect being
yeah.
out in the nature, sun's rising, fog everywhere. We
As
had a great
a
time.
as a guy who appreciates nature and likes being in the outdoors, I'm sure it feels great that your daughter also enjoys that and that you can enjoy it together. So
Those are the moments that are getting fewer and far between because you've known my daughter since they were really small,
yeah.
and the older they get, you lose the kind of Superman effect on your kids. So I'm constantly reminded of the things I get wrong, not the things I get right. But yes, the fact that my daughter was like, let's just like go out, be in nature. It's like, yes, I'm doing. That's a. I'll take that win as a father. That I think that's a good outcome. So
I agree. That's awesome. All right, so should we do this thing? Reflect
yeah,
on the past few episodes?
let's do it. Oh my God, what a great wave of episodes we've had the last couple weeks. It's hard to keep up. I think we've averaged 2.5 over the last month, 2.5 episodes a week
They get published or they get
that
recorded?
get recorded.
They
They
get
get
recorded,
recorded.
yes. Yeah, we've been, yeah, every week it's either been two episodes or three. And I don't know if you saw the email that came in, but it looks like we might have four next week if we
Whoa,
reschedule.
whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Daniel,
Yeah.
you're killing me.
I know.
Killing
We
me.
gotta talk. We'll talk offline about this. We
Okay.
maybe we
All
shouldn't do that. But
right.
yeah, it's been busy and I've really enjoyed it.
Same here. Well, where should we start?
Let's start with Mindi Cox,
Mindy
episode
Mindy
91.
Cox. What a fun conversation. What a she first of all, she had an amazing, I love her story. And it's so interesting to see kind of the trends in our guests, and the fact that she started with a marketing background and over time got pulled into to HR, and has kind of come full circle. Now she's chief marketing officer and chief people officer at OC Tanner. Just really amazing story, really amazing person. And wow, she dropped a lot of knowledge. It was hard for me to narrow down like the one takeaway that I wanted to talk about today. But for me, I think the most compelling takeaway is her view that we need to start moving away from focusing on employee engagement, and we need to start focusing more on employee fulfillment. And I think that she walked us through how important compensation is, but the fact of the matter is the last year, 18 months, if we look back now, the great resignation or the great reshuffle was, I guess, perpetuated by this competition on wages. Her comment was like that's just not a sustainable strategy. And when I was thinking about that, it reminded me how after the 2007 2008 downturn, I was a vice president at Goldman Sachs in New York, and they brought all the VPs together, and it was Lloyd Blankfein and Gary Cohn, and they were the CEO and president, and they were like, giving the State of the Union. And I'll never forget Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO, was talking about how the firm had invested. There was a lot of frothy deal making right before the downturn, and looking back, like it should have been so obvious that something was really, really wrong when the valuations on these real estate deals just did not make sense. The fundamentals of the deal, the costs of the deals, and the return that were being projected just didn't add up. And I feel like the same holds true if we look back to last year, and just the force of and the velocity in which people were leaving jobs, they were getting promotions, they were getting raises. It seemed like people were jumping every few months. And looking back, like we can now see that that was not sustainable, because where we're at today is companies have admitted, some of the biggest and brightest companies in the world, that they overhired, and they got a little caught up in the frenzy that was the competition on wages the last couple of years. And so that was like the first thing that jumped out at me, and it was like, I really like how she framed that.
Yeah, what I really liked about the idea of moving from employee engagement to employee fulfillment, she talked about creating a haven for employees where they find community in your purpose.
Mm.
And she said, if your people can't tell you your purpose, why you exist, and why they're inspired by it, then that should be your top priority. And I just love that. And in fact, I got a DM from one of our listeners a couple of days ago who just reached out and shared that they had just binged like several of the episodes. So me being me, I wanted to know, what are your favorite episodes? Like which episode did you really enjoy so far? And the first episode that she called out was the Mindi Cox episode. And she said that the moving from employee engagement to employee fulfillment, she's already shared that with several of her colleagues. I it was one of those moments whenever we were talking with her where it sort of clicked. Like it makes sense, but I don't think we had ever had anybody explain it that way.
Yeah, and I think we both, I think we all know, we all have friends that made a move thinking based on a needing a change, maybe needing a bump in pay, right? Seeing everyone else getting higher salaries and higher salaries and higher salaries, and then they
Yeah.
jump because for the same reasons, and they end up at a company and they might be engaged, but they're not fulfilled, and it's like it's this weird situation to observe people that are like, okay, and they're kind of questioning like, okay, what was this really the right move? And probably in most cases it was, right? They made the move, so it had to have
Yeah.
been the right move at that point in time. But I think this is what, if they're finding that they're lacking something, something's just missing. And on the flip side, for the companies that they recruited and they brought in fresh talent from all these great places, and but they're not seeming to get the, I guess, results or the cultural impact that they were looking for. I think a lot of it, the gap is fulfillment, like this desire, like, God, okay, so it's not just pay, and I can still be engaged because there's parts of my job that are different, but man, I was really hoping that there was something more than this. And so I
Yeah.
agree. I love that fulfillment. And when you were just kind of reminding me of what Mindy shared with us, it reminds me of Simon Sinek's Start with the Why. And I know that's kind of probably no longer in vogue now, but man, that was big. And you probably remember me talking a lot about that in the early days of Workify. Is like, what is our why? Like, why do we exist, and why are we here? We're here to make work better. So
Yeah. And I think the mission or the purpose that the founder of OC Tanner started with was kindness. It was something
mm,
around kindness, like bringing more kindness to the world. I mean, how beautiful is that? And another thing that she talked about related to employee fulfillment was how, if you are able to nail this, like, yes, compensation is important. And she's not saying that you shouldn't be competing through wages, but she's saying alone that's not a sustainable strategy. And she talked about how there were a number of boomerangs at OC Tanner
yeah.
recently where they had left for that big pay bump and the fulfillment wasn't there. They missed their friends and colleagues at OC Tanner and went back. And I think that's far more common than you would think. Just thinking of my wife Tori at her company Toyota Connected, they've had a handful of boomerangs the last couple of years. People that left like mid COVID, weren't happy in the new roles, and are now back at TC.
And it was, I'll never forget riffing with Steve Cadigan on this topic about why it's important to be okay with your people leaving, and to be, the way you handle that is really important, because if you do it the right way, you should have boomerangs. Like, that is a sign of a healthy culture.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're getting things right at Toyota Connected, at OC Tanner.
I know you've
Also,
had a couple of boomerangs at Workify.
we absolutely have had some
Yeah.
boomerangs, and I think it comes back to really having a clear purpose, and also um, showing compassion and empathy and kindness to people as they're leaving. And it's just shocking that doesn't happen enough.
Yeah.
Companies, the way they treat their employees when they're terminated, like these stories, it's shocking on to read your LinkedIn feed, because there's still companies laying off. The risks are still happening. But before I forget, shout out to the research and development team, the R&D team, or their research team. Who, what Mindy said, they have a group
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
just focus on getting data and insights, and they're probably the real stars of the Mindy conversation, because she just had so many nuggets that and bombs she dropped in that conversation. So they're clearly doing some great work over there.
Yeah, I don't know if you took a look at their website, but their reports are like these pretty, I wouldn't call them ebooks. It's more interactive. I can't remember what Star Conspiracy used to call them. Do you know what I'm talking about? How they would
Yes,
they
I
would
do.
build like a very interactive experience for their ebooks or white papers. And yeah, before we interviewed her, I was clicking around on their website and I had a lot of fun looking at some of the data that they've been able to capture. Let's
Nice.
talk about episode 92 with Allison Baum Gates from Sempervirens or Sempervirens. I'm still not sure if I'm saying that right. She's the general partner over there, and we talked about funding the future of work. And she's writing a book that's going to come out in March that's called Breaking into Venture, and it demystifies how VC works. Some things that we talked about on the show were really like her why for writing the book, and it's to draw more diverse voices into the VC world. She says that there's a huge disconnect between the people funding new technology and the people who it ultimately impacts. So if you have 30, 40 people out of VC and they're all white men, they're going to build technology for people like them. And if she can, make VC more accessible and attract more diverse voices into the VC world, then we're going to be able to build technology or be able to shape technology better. And I think the example that she gave was social media, how you have companies like Facebook or Instagram, and now we're dealing with the ramifications of the mental health of teens and young women. So if you haven't heard of her book Breaking into Venture, I would go check out the pre-sale link. I'm excited to read it. And
I've
yeah,
got one on
Allison's a
back order
badass.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I on this one, and I think there is one piece that, and maybe I'm making this up, but I think there's a third piece in there that she may have mentioned, which is that the disconnect is the, as you said, the people funding the new technology, the people that use the
Yeah.
technology, so like
Yeah.
the HR practitioners,
She said that too.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
the people who it ultimately impacts, which is all employees.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to your point, like this really, really resonated with me. It's like this group of individuals, to your point, probably white men, because that's historically what, that's the demographic of the VC world that has decided what the future looks like when the buyers are largely women, the users of the technology and other diverse groups, and then the people that it ultimately impacts, it's all employees, right? Which is kind of a subsection of America. And so I think in the world, and for me, it's like, so you're not only disrupting the future of work, right? You're investing in companies that are leading edge and looking toward where things are headed, but you're also, to a certain extent, disrupting VCs as well, who have called all the shots. And so I love that their Sempervirens is focusing on like getting better alignment between those three, between the group, those that are funding, those that are using the work tech, and the benefactors, which are all employees. And so I loved the conversation. I really wish that a book like this had existed in 2014, when I launched Workify, just so that I could understand VC in general, because I think so many books and so many people have tried to demystify the VC world. But in addition to that, like helping those of us, like individuals like us that are kind of committed to HR tech, work tech, the future of work, really understand what VCs, what they're looking for, and what it takes to generate the return on their investment on a potential deal. And I think she said that there are a lot of problems that will be interesting to solve, but there are not a lot of problems that really scale to the degree that are worth financing a solution for. If you're entrepreneurial, I feel like I am constantly like, oh, you could disrupt this, that could be done better, like, and my mind's constantly going, but reining that in and applying a lens of like, oh, well, is this how does this problem really scale? And is it something that is a worth fixing, investing millions of dollars, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to fix? And or is this just like a one-off thing that Microsoft or one of these big companies could just easily just deploy an engineering pod to address? And I think that would have helped me better focus my energies in the early days of being an HR tech entrepreneur.
Yeah. Something else she said that shifted my perspective a bit was that I think I had made a comment about working with sales teams for both a company that's perceived to be I didn't say this, but a painkiller versus something that's perceived to be a vitamin. And her response was, well, the vitamin industry is $1 billion industry, or however big it was. And she's right. I think that there are going to be some vitamins that come out of everything that's happened the last couple of years. I don't know what they are. I'm sure there's a lot of startups right now that are probably considered to be vitamins that they're going to end up crushing it and be household names one day. So we'll see
Well,
which companies emerge.
yeah, and what she said, that comment also kind of triggered my inner John Foster, because I think we also, she pointed out like just that term painkiller, like why are we're
Yeah,
investing in painkillers like the
yeah,
numbing out, and we're not investing in vitamins, which is
beneficial
wellness.
to your health. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And it was like, oh wow, like
Yeah.
I've never really thought about it that way, but
And then I also just sort of connected the dots between Allison's episode and Family's episode. So with Allison, she's talking about the disconnect between the people investing in technology, the users of technology, and the people that it impacts. And Family talked about ERGs and how usually companies use ERGs to make work better for the minority groups that those people fall within. But instead, companies could be giving those people a seat at the table. They could be giving those ERGs a seat at the table and helping to, innovate, create new products. I think the example she gave was Frito Lay's and how they had a Latinx ERG, and people working from different parts of the company. They brought them in to come up with a new product, and what they landed on was the guacamole chip, and how this was the biggest product launch that they had had in decades. And then I think she also mentioned that she's working with two video game companies that are doing the exact same thing right now. So yeah, it's like thinking about the people that you're building products for and using your people internally that match that profile to help you build a better product, to help you build a better customer experience, and so on and so forth.
yeah, it seems so simple and
Yeah, it
straightforward,
really
like
is.
when you hear it, and it's like, why aren't companies doing more of this? Which will come back. I'm going to parking lot that comment. And so, but great segue. So Emily Howe, she runs a consulting firm, a gender equity. She's a gender equity expert. Family on the Go, I think, is the name of her business. She was episode 93, and it was, I think, the first episode that we really focus in on gender equity. I think we've had some others, but I don't think it had quite the focus, and it brought us back to DEI, which I feel like DEI going back to summer of 2020 to early 2021, we talked a lot about DEI, and we haven't so much lately. And yeah, I also zeroed in on the comment about getting more out of your ERGs. And for me, the comments also reminded me of a prior episode that we've talked about, not Allison's, more so Mindy's. And in Mindy's episode, we talked about the work required to change culture, and she made the comment that you should admit that you don't have all the answers, and you should reach out to your people and ask them to help come up with a solution. And I think that's like going back to the Femily episode. That's exactly what she's saying with the ERGs. It's like, don't, you could bring ERGs together. You could get benefit out of that, but you're missing the mark if you're just staying with the traditional view of the ERG. And if you can find a way and you can align interests in engaging your ERGs in a way that they're actually solving business problems, you're going to see much better results. And it's again, it's like what Mindy said. It's like, why you don't have to act like you have all the solutions, particularly in DEI. Like, the company already knows, your employees already know the company doesn't have all the solutions because you're not where you want to be or where you need to be. And so acting like you have the answers is silly, right? And so engaging diverse groups and having them participate in coming up with the solution, to me, is just a genius approach. And I think it got me excited to think about employee resource groups again, because I think I mentioned in that conversation how sometimes I get triggered a little bit, and I think about like really antiquated diversity and inclusion programs. And because that was part of the playbook, was like, okay, roll out a diversity 101 training course that's mandatory for all employees, to create your employee resource groups, the Latino network or Latinx network, the Black network, Women's Initiative network, and you're good, and you've checked all your boxes. And I think we need to push ourselves if we really want to see better results in the diversity and inclusion space. We need to push these boundaries a little further. And I think that what she described in this next level way of engaging ERGs is spot on.
Agreed.
And so I think that takes us to episode 94 with Josh Bersin. And I'll say it again. For me, I was fanboying in a bit in that fan personing in that episode with Josh, because he really is one of the OG HR thought leaders. And so there were so many things. We had the chance to get an advanced copy of his new book, Irresistible, that I think came out in January of this year. So still fairly new. And there was so much that we talked about, from the biggest trends that he's seen happen over the last 25 years. But what really stood out amongst all the amazing things in the book, for me, is this concept of a new operating model. And really, it comes down to a belief that the most successful, innovative, and irresistible companies are those that have broken down the hierarchy. So moving away from the old post-World War II top-down command and control type of approach. He mentioned General Electric, but there are a lot of companies out there that are still operating in this kind of old school way, and moving this movement to a new operating model, which he describes as the network of teams operating model. And it's just, I've reread the early chapters to just wrap my mind around this new approach. And I really do think that the future is a more agile way of operating. I feel like agile, as we talked about in that episode, I feel like agile is kind of buzzy, and people have some preconceived notions of what agile is and how it applies and how it doesn't apply. I think more importantly, I think there are a lot of people that are like, yeah, agile is for software development, not for HR or not for our operations. And by kind of rebranding it or evolving that into an operating model that he's calling the network of teams, it's bringing new language and a new way of looking at how can we operate with less vertical levels and less departments and less silos, and really start accelerating the way we do things, our internal innovation, and improving the output that we're getting from the company in general. And so that for me was like the mind-blowing thing, this fundamental change in how businesses, the cutting edge, irresistible businesses, how they're operating.
Yeah, and it's something we've heard from a lot of our guests, from Jessica Swan talking about people operations as a product, to John Foster talking about human centric design. I feel like everyone is circling around this same idea. And I was actually having a chat with a buddy this past weekend, and somehow we got onto the topic of organizations and moving away from this non-hierarchical structure. And the way that he described companies, how a lot of companies operate, or the word he used was pathological. And he's like, a lot of companies are pathological. They might not be good for people, but they're like that, and that's how they've always been. And I had never really heard like the traditional organization, or like the paternalistic organization, be called pathological. And I actually just looked up what it means when you call somebody pathological, and it says you describe
What's
a
that?
person or their behavior as pathological when they behave in an extreme and unacceptable way and have very powerful feelings that they cannot control. And that's like the traditional organization. And I think, for the most part, people have their eyes wide open now, right? They see that there's a better way of working, and the companies that don't recognize that and aren't moving away from this pathological way of existing, I don't know. I just don't know how much longer it can go on, how much longer they can continue operating in this way, because there are a lot of really big companies that still operate this way. And sometimes when I hear my friends talk about their work experience, especially the ones working in older school industries, I'm pretty surprised. It's but it's still happening. I don't know.
Yeah, and why do you think they keep working there?
I mean, I feel like this more so has to do with just like the human condition and
Yeah,
change being hard. So
yeah,
change is hard for like an individual person. Maybe that's why it's so hard for organizations to change, because it involves a large number of people. But for the people that stay in their jobs like that, I think usually they're in a job where there's a good level of stability. I don't know. Yeah, I think for the most part, just change is hard. And even just
a
speaking from
fear.
personal, yeah, even
People
speaking
are
from
fear. Maybe
personal
what if it's
experience.
worse?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what if I leave and I'm not happy, and I realize that I made this huge mistake? I feel
Yeah,
like that's a pretty common feeling to have.
yeah. I feel like in the conversations we're having, the LinkedIn conversations, there's a lot of strong opinions right now on this topic. Like there's those that are embracing change and those that are resisting change. And I asked a question because I agree. I think it is part of the human condition of like, the same thing that is holding companies back, employees back from leaving that are unhappy, is holding companies back from just really putting themselves out there and leaning into change. And, telling someone that there's a much better way on the other side, like, or somewhere else, or that a remote's better than in office, because, a future that is largely remote is could be better for the world, isn't going to convince people that's the case. And and sometimes I think that gets lost in these conversations we're having a little bit. Like for me, I don't, we just got off a prep call with a future guest, and I made the comment that I don't have a problem with the companies that want to continue to work in office, Do I agree that that's the right model? No, I don't agree that that's the future of work. Is that a place where I would personally want to work? Absolutely not. But for some people, it's what they know. And it's like for them, that is flexibility and stability and freedom for them. Right. And so I've spent a lot of time thinking, as we start to wrap up this conversation, like maybe by swinging into this agenda of like what is the future of work and what should it be and what is it not and what is it, I think we are losing focus on that the humans are involved in a lot of these decisions, and I don't think there is a right or wrong, as we were just
So
talking about.
th- I think I explained it like this to somebody over a couple glasses of wine the other night. So bear with me. This is the first time I'm repeating it. The way that I think about it, we live in this world where everything is curated to our tastes, whether that's music and creating Spotify playlists, or it's, our Pinterest boards where we have all of our favorite recipes. And I feel like we're moving in a direction to where the future of work is everybody curating their like their work playlist in a way. So if if they want to be a contractor and have two or three clients where they're having a variety of work throughout the day, maybe that's what their playlist looks like. If they want that stability and the security of knowing that they're working with a Fortune 100 company that's been around for 200 years, that likely won't make layoffs, that is probably recession proof, then maybe that's their playlist. That's what they're opting into and what works best for them. And I think the same thing goes for how their preference for working, their preference for the type of company they work for. Like the options are limitless for people these days. And yeah, so I've been explaining the future of work as almost thinking about it like a playlist, right? It's like your
I love
Spotify,
that.
your work playlist.
Yeah, and as we just talked about, there are still people that go to a retail mall or retail strip and do their shopping that way. And every now and then I'll actually do my shopping that way. Is it the primary mode of how things are purchased? But even that has evolved, and it's a higher end experience when you think about like the outdoor malls in Austin, like the Domain, right? It's changed, and so I I think the future is bright. I think that that things will get better regardless of where and how you work. There's more optionality. To your point, you can create and choose the playlist that you want to follow, and I think because the voice of the employee is not going to go away, and the power that has now kind of shifted into the hands of the employee because of this optionality, I think that all the options get better. At least that's my hope.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like on that note, we should end it. That's a strong
That's
note
it.
to end on.
That's
Should
it
we
right
do should
there.
we do good news stories? I mean, sorry, one word close. Sorry,
I was like,
my brain is like completely drained.
it's okay. I
My
was like
my
about to say, did we just do that? I thought we did that. But yeah, one word close. I think it's time for the one word close.
I'm gonna say we made it. Yeah, I don't know why I'm so tired. Maybe it's because I snuck in a workout right before this, but oof, yeah, I pushed
You know,
through. We finished
that's
this
my
episode.
knock. That I will never understand the morning workout people. The people that wake up like 5, 6 in the morning and work out, because I do not. They get energized. I do
Yeah.
not. I get so drained, and I'm just like not really functioning well for the rest of the day. That's neither here nor there. My one word close. I'm gonna go with optionality. I think that it's so good to have options, and I think that we people forget how many options they really have and the power they do have
Yeah.
to choose what they want and what works for them.
Agreed.
So on that note, when's our next? We're doing, we are going to be more consistent in
Yeah,
2023
we
about
are.
doing the one-on-one riffs. And
Every
so what
month.
is it?
Every
Every
month we're
month.
gonna do one riff. Yeah. So
So,
you'll be hearing a lot more of these. I feel like it was pretty sporadic in the past. We would do one like every 2 or 3 months, or sometimes every 6 months. But we're gonna try to do at least one just me and Steven episodes a month.
So Dom Boone, if you're listening, your feedback, we've heard you loud and clear, because we'll be doing more of these, and hopefully you guys, everyone else enjoys these one-on-one riffs as much as Dom does. I certainly enjoy them. It's a nice change of pace, and it's nice to just connect with you, Daniel, and have a
same,
chat.
same.
All
All
right.
right, dude. It's
Have a good night.
6:30, so gonna log off,
Get to
get some
dinner.
dinner. Yeah,
Hang out with your actual brothers, not the guy that people think is your brother.
exactly.
So, all right, my
All
man.
right,
Well,
dude.
have a good night. Talk soon.
All right, bye.